the Infinite Spark of Being podcast. My name is Keith Welsh, and in this episode, we're going to discuss something. The map is not the territory. I'll get into what that means after I tell you this bit of information. I need you to go to the infinitesparkofbeing.com and click on the About button, read a little bit about me, and if you're interested in booking one-on-one time, doing thought transformation, restructuring, or grief and loss, whatever that might be, you can do that there. Reach out via email. If you are interested in booking me for maybe a speaking engagement at your yoga school or Knights of Columbus Hall even, if you'd like to do a workshop, something like that, also go ahead and email me. I'm available. Give me a shout. If you're going to reach out through social media, do it through Instagram. That's where I'm the most active. Also, before I forget, Patreon/donate. That button, click that. Sign up for the $10 a month Patreon tier, which gives you access to the first Wednesday of every month online gathering. If you just want to check it out, you can check it out for $20. Pay it through PayPal or Venmo. Also, if you'd like to just donate money because you like what I'm doing, you appreciate the content that I'm providing you, go ahead and donate through PayPal or Venmo there as well. There's the t-shirts, things like that. Also, be sure you click on the articles of clothing. Though they look black and white, there are other colors available. Okay, the map is not the territory. Another saying is that the model is not the data, or the meal is not the menu, the menu is not the meal, rather. That, the menu can look a certain way, it can be described a certain way, and then you order the food, and lo and behold, it's not. We can study scientific models over and over and over and over again, and then, boom, that's not what happens. It's funny about models. I live in Florida, and I can't tell you how many times, the spaghetti models, and, and then it doesn't do what we thought it was going to do. I think they're getting better nowadays, but still. We can study a map. You can look at a map of Glacier National Park, but it's not going to give you the experience of being on those trails, of navigating those trails, right? You'll never know how difficult it is at that altitude until you do it. And that is all of spiritual practice. We read these books, we study the Gita, we study all these things, but then faced with those things, it's always different. A wise man laments not for the living nor the dead, right? In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, you were never born, you will never die, And you have all this intellectual knowing about death, and that you are in fact a soul, and that your mother's a soul, your father's a soul, your child is a soul. And then when confronted with the loss of those people, it's very painful. But you know what? Having that map and doing those practices is better than not. Dealing with those things without any of the intellectual understanding of them is very difficult. In fact, I would say that having that intellectual understanding of it allows it to become a deep realization and a deep knowing with a capital K once you experience it. To understand the concept of, I am not my human form, I am actually the formless, shapeless soul, I am the knowing behind the knowing, I am the awareness behind the awareness. To have the intellectual understanding of that, but then to be confronted with the pain and the heartache of death, that intellectualization of it leads to the knowing. So you got to start somewhere. In other words, you have to have a map. Is that saying all models are wrong? Well, they might be. But at least we had some sort of an idea, some sort of a basic inclination of, what was coming or what could happen. That's that idea that the bird has two wings. There's the Dharma and then there's practice, right? You have to, the Dharma being the lessons and the scholastic, whatever, within the practice, the reading, the Puranas, the whatever. To read and only read but not engage in the practices is not going to be helpful, because the practices are what give you the realizations. But to have the practices about the intellectual piece of it, the literature isn't going to be helpful either. You have to have both. You know? You have to have the knowing and you have to have the experience. The map is not the territory. The model is not the data. And the menu is not the meal. You know, it gets used a lot in a bad way. You know, but it's not. It's all necessary. It's all grist for the mill. It all goes in, you know. It's all relative, right? It's all important. It all matters. Sorry if you guys if the wind is a little noisy. We've got some wild weather going on here. Yeah, I think that, you know, having those maps allows me to navigate the territory better. In other words, having the map of what human consciousness could be and what the experience is going to be and what you can do about it allows me to have the difficulty of being in the human body and navigating the issues of being a human, whether they're social, political, and whatever. It gives me something, rather than being one of these people that just doesn't know. You know, it's I notice this a lot in the New Age community of people that are just saying things with no understanding of those things, or they're just doing shit and it's like they don't even have the map. They're trying to navigate the territory without even reading the fucking map, and they sound like assholes. You know, they sound fucking stupid. It's like, you don't even know what that means. You have no idea what you're saying. You know, it's like you're saying something that sounds great and you're trying to act a certain, but you don't even have a map. You don't know where you're going. You know, it's kind of like you're telling somebody something that's, you know what it is they're telling you about something, but they don't even know themselves because they've never been. They just like how it feels to talk about it. You know, which is super exhausting. Yeah. I think that what the maps have given me is the knowing that I have to go inward to find the answers, that I am not going to find anything. You know, that there is this external phenomena that occurs around me, yada, 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 but at the end of the day, it's about me. It's about how my mind relates to those things. And luckily, those maps have taught me how to navigate my own mind, how to navigate, you know, the whole picture. You know what's interesting is today, this is the 6th podcast I've tried to record. The 5 previous I tried to do on men's mental health, because it's November and this is the month where we're allowed to talk about men having mental health issues. But 3, I can't. It's too heated for me, and it gets to be too much for me to talk about, because I inevitably will say some very unsavory things, maybe about you, maybe about the culture that you take part in. So I find it's best to not say anything. And that's what the map is teaching me, is that I'm just going to work with how my mind relates to the topic and not try to convince you people of anything. You know, what's really interesting when I talk about it, in my mind, I imagine that all of you disagree with me, so I then have to become very, like, heated, you know, which is a weird place. Why am I assuming that you don't agree with me? Why don't I start from a place of assuming that you do? I don't know. Yeah, I really tried. I tried to get into it. It's just hard to talk about, you know? It's interesting, like, talk about maps, and I've been referring to, like, spiritual text as a map. But you think about the maps that I think about the maps I was given as a young boy, as a male. and they weren't the experience I had. The map was not the territory at all, which is very interesting. When I discuss or think about the idea of the map not being the territory, I always think in these terms of like spiritual text. But man, I was given some maps as a young man, and none of those maps make any fucking sense. We're given maps now, language maps, descriptions, the way we're going to describe the world, the way we're going to describe these other people. That's a map. We get a look at that. Is the map the territory? No, it's not. I was going to do an episode on language as well. And I realize how complicated that topic is too. I've really tried to stay away from anything social and political. Because I'm not really that interested, but recently some stuff has come up for me that I'm like, well, that's affecting my mind in a very fucked up way. Because this Keith incarnation does have certain, things that come along with being Keith. Ways of being in the world, opinions, being opinionated, and, it's tough. It's hard to be me. We're all having our own little weirdo experience. I'm going to cut this short just because I don't know. I don't know. I think trying to record that stuff on mental health kind of wore me out, man. One day I'd like to try to talk about it, but it's got to be in a way that serves you. It can't just be in this way of me, like, saying shit because I want to say it. I don't think that's what this is supposed to be. So anyway, the map is not the territory. It's good and it's bad, you look at a map, there's a mountain here, but you didn't realize how steep it was, but at least you had a map to know there was a mountain there. That's very important. So go to theinfinitesparkofbeing.com, click on the About button, read a little bit about me. If you're interested in booking time for any of that stuff, send me an email. Workshops, speaking, if you'd like me to come and speak or do a workshop at your yoga school or where else, email. That's it. Don't forget the Patreon. Go check that out, and I'll see you at our first Wednesday gathering. Okay. I love you. Bye.